I can't stop thinking about how much I want to devour your glorious throbbing love instead!
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. So the clip I just showed you was from Shiomneta, or a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. And if you can't tell from the name, yes, it was adapted from a light novel. It was released in 2015 by JC Staff Studios, who's worked on a lot of other high-profile shows that you may have heard of. And this sex comedy was a complete knockout punch. It was a knockout punch. So that's a joke because they also worked on season 2 of One Punch Man. They're on a comedy-based YouTube channel. So how would I describe this show using other shows as comparison? Well, let's take Serokai with its heavy pun-based humor about dicks, and then we'll take Prison School with its over-the-top character traits and seeing how far they can push the censorship, right? Those two had a baby. And I guess we can also go ahead and throw on Code Geass as well for domestic terrorism, so we're gonna throw that into the threesome. This video is gonna be talking about erotic jokes as well as what is technically considered domestic terrorism in that universe, so my channel is never gonna get monetized, but if you'd like to support my channel, you can always do so on OnlyFans. I have an OnlyFans. I thought it would be funny to have in my bio top 1% of OnlyFans as an anime review channel. Don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I'll go into more detail on it later, like way later in the video. I'm not doing that now. Anyways, back to dick jokes. Long story short, Japan created a bunch of laws that would make Japan more wholesome and pure, but doing so requires them to create a task force which would then throw anyone who commits anything against this impurity into labor camps. I'm not joking, it's straight up labor camps. It says so in the show. Just throw them in the mines, but how would they manage to be able to monitor you doing anything? Well, they created these bracelets and chokers that will monitor anything you say, as well as monitor every fine detail of hand and finger movement to know if you've done anything naughty. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and throw 1984 into the gangbang as well. I haven't seen 1984. I don't know if that's what that's about. So with that world set up, our protagonist is going to be going to one of the top rated schools in Japan in terms of purity and wholesomeness, but during his first day, accidentally gets roped into helping this panties on her head terrorist spread degeneracy throughout the school and eventually throughout all of Japan. And she does this by blackmailing him until he's just okay with it. So I guess Stockholm Syndrome is prevalent. Maybe, I don't know. I can't say much more than that about the story because it's a comedy and a lot of the plot points within the story end up coming back as recurring jokes, and I can't just explain jokes. That's not great for comedy. Jokes aren't that funny when you explain the joke. Fun fact, how do I know this? I run a comedy-based YouTube channel. That's like the biggest self-burn I could give myself. Now look, it's not highbrow humor. There's gonna be a lot of dick jokes, and I get that. It's not for everyone, like pineapple on pizza, even though they're wrong. But then who could I recommend the show to, right? Like, who would want to watch this? Anyone who thinks dick jokes are funny. Because they are. There's some odd parallels with the show between like the show and reality. Like clearly they take the characters to the logical extreme, but at the end of the day what the characters are fighting for is freedom of knowledge and expression, which most people would normally agree with. Now, I'm not saying that you should go out, put lingerie over your head, and then hold a bus hostage. Fun fact of the day, don't do that, that's illegal, and the police really don't like illegal things, apparently. Basically what it's supposed to be saying though is that people should be allowed to be themselves, free of judgment, and free to express themselves however they please, as long as it doesn't really hurt anyone else. And I get that some ideas are kind of dangerous and that you shouldn't just go out there and talk about them willy-nilly to anyone, like eugenics, or taking a bath with a toaster because you hate showers, but you could just eat breakfast at any time of the day. But at the end of the day, like even if an idea is unanimously agreed on as dangerous and bad, you're always gonna have outliers that are still going to do some of those ideas, no matter how many warning signs you put in front of them telling them, hey bud, you probably shouldn't do that. Like those no diving signs at pools where it says the depth is like 6 inches? Those exist for a reason, because someone's done it. Anyways, back to the show. Within the show, certain ideas have been nearly completely phased out just due to the lack of being allowed to interact. Due to the strictness of the system, most boys and girls don't get much interaction with each other at all, and it's at the point within, at least that world, that most of the youth doesn't even know what love is, because they just haven't had those 4 interactions, and because of the strictness of how everything is taught, how are you supposed to tell someone what love is when you're also like, hey, if you love someone, You can't touch them. That is impure. You can just admire them from a reasonable distance. Not like a stalker, but like, you get what I'm saying. Now, how does this play out in the show since they don't know what love is? Okay, so whenever a couple of boys found a porn magazine, their hearts began to beat really fast and they began to experience this feeling that they've never felt before. And because they didn't know what being horny was, because that's not explained to them, instead, they thought that was love. They thought they were in love with a porn star. They came to this decision collectively. No one in the show corrects them. The two main characters that we're going to be following for the show are going to be Tanukichi Okuma and Ayame Kajo. There's other main characters. We're not really going to be following them because they exist as gag characters. And again, I don't feel like explaining jokes to people. For Tanuki Mario, his dad is considered a terrorist because he really did not like those purity laws going through. Yeah, he made a big stink about it, and many of the things his dad believed in were passed down to Tanukichi, and Tanukichi reconditioned himself to not believe those things and to believe in the opposite. That's cool. Then we have Ayame Kajo. She is the student council vice president. However, she's also the most infamous terrorist in Japan, known as Blue Snow, and she's the one who blackmails Tanukichi into helping her. And over the course of the show, she slowly peels away the layers that condition him to become this totally different person, and by the end of the show, allows him to become his true self, his true garter belt wearing, panties on head self. So fucking wholesome. Together, they form the terrorist organization known as SOCS. I forgot what SOCS stands for, but they are not talking about the ones you use on your feet, unless you're using those to catch cum. What the fuck is wrong with me? I think that's a joke they made within the show. I swear, I'm not normally this delusional. But together as SOCS, they fight the government and other terrorist cell organizations to prove to Japan, once and for all, that horny is good, damn it. I watched this show dubbed because it just kind of makes multitasking easier, and also, I don't speak Japanese. Watashi wa Nihonjin de arimasen. Yeah, I had a friend tell me how to say that. But yeah, just watch the dub. It's actually incredibly good. A lot of the line deliveries come through amazingly. A lot of the voice actors and actresses did an absolutely bang-up job. Would highly recommend.
Cock and balls!
Also, I don't know about you, I have a problem when it comes to subtitles and comedy. Whenever subtitles are on screen, I tend to read really fast, and so I'll finish the subtitles before they've said it on screen. And that becomes kind of a problem with comedy. Whenever you read the punchline before it's supposed to happen. See, in comedy, timing is really important. I should know. I run a comedy-based YouTube channel. But timing is really important when it comes to comedy, because if you just say something at like the wrong fraction of a second, it can lose all of its punch. A joke that comes too soon, see, more sex comedy, can just completely disappoint you. Premature ejaculation joke in 2, get fucked. But a joke that comes out too late will also just be frustrating. The third one's a stretch, I'm gonna take it. So it's really finicky when it comes to comedy, but having it be in English makes it a lot easier because you don't need the subtitles, and then you can just let the punchline hit you all at once. Like, if you don't believe me, go watch any stand-up special on Netflix that's funny. I feel like that's really subjective to say. Just go watch anything not by Amy Schumer. When you're watching it, just turn the subtitles on and then watch how not as funny it should be. It's so much better without subtitles. And so that translates because the anime is gonna have those same timings in terms of like, okay, now the joke should happen because some character got fucking bitch slapped on the show, and now it's funny because as he said it, whoop-ah, boom, you know, comedy. Okay, quickly for the animation. The animation is fine. It's nothing special. It's not supposed to be, though. It's not gonna do something like Bocce the Rock where it uses the animation to accentuate punchlines, and instead it focuses way more on the timing and the pacing of the scenes to be able to make the jokes hit at a certain speed. Again, back to the timing thing. And because the animation's consistent the whole time, it never bottoms out and you're like, oh, that's where they ran out of budget. But it also never hits those high hype moments where you're like, oh, that's where the budget went. Instead, it's like the most consistent 6, 7 out of 10 on the animation, like the entire series. Now for sound design and music, the sound design is good. It's a very visceral show in terms of like the ideas it wants to put into your head, but it never reaches so far into the ASMR category that it actually grosses you out. It just wants to plant that seed in your noggin so that you get the idea. Once you laugh, it stops. So that way you don't have to hear like the moistness of the scene. I hate that I'm having to use that word to describe this, but the moistness, you know, that's a sound you're gonna hear. Also, the music in the show, I think it's fine. So the opening and the ending I really liked. However, the music during the actual show, I can't remember. I also didn't have any negative notes, so if I didn't write anything bad, I guess it wasn't bad, but also it's not memorable. You shouldn't be paying that much attention to the music because the music is just kind of there to fill out for the jokes. It's a comedy. If the music's that good in a comedy during the actual show, you're gonna get this this weird, like, cognitive disconnect where you're like, oh my god, I'm supposed to be laughing, but this music, I just want to fucking bang my head. You know, it's like, that shouldn't happen. Overall, I'd give the show like a 9 out of 10. Its peak moments are definitely a 10 out of 10, like the first scene I showed you, but the rest of it is good. It's just, it does have a few lulls that would keep it out of the 9 out of 10 zone. And then to wrap this up, we'll go ahead and pick a best girl. Let's go with the president, the one that ripped the zipper. I have a problem with yanderes. I'm not sorry. But anyways, haha, funny show. That's it. Thank you for making it this far in the video. If you did, if you could, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It does help out the channel, and it would help me to one day eventually be able to get to a point where I could do this full time to make more funny videos more often for you guys. Also, if you want to directly support the channel, you can do so on my OnlyFans. That was not a joke. I did set that up. I'm planning on setting up some stuff there to be able to make it more enticing for you guys, like either behind the scenes footage, early videos, maybe some other reward tiers for like a live watch parties for new series that I'll be doing later on. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments, as long as they're somewhat feasible. But beyond that, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thank you again for making it this far. And dude, I don't have a fucking outro.